Hello, and welcome to this next episode of Florida in Motion. With hurricane season on the horizon, we're going to make today's episode all about emergency response efforts. This is such a major part of our industry and a huge responsibility that the communities of Florida depend on us for day in and day out. I've come to realize over the years, by working here and working through many hurricanes, that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. Hurricane season helps to shed light on the true value of transportation and the major role it plays in connecting people and communities throughout the entire state of Florida. Numerous preparations are done year-round to prepare for hurricane season, which starts on June 1st. Various actions and plans go into play the second we get word of a storm. We immediately monitor storm activity, strategize plans, and secure any necessary assets needed before and after a storm through close coordination with leadership and many of our key partners and stakeholders. We waste no time staging resources, equipment, and staff before the storm makes landfall to ensure we're responding as quickly as possible. It's all hands on deck. In fact, to best serve the regional area anticipating a storm's impact, we'll start rolling out heavy equipment and crews and mobilizing the resources necessary from every district across the state to have them ready to respond on a moment's notice. From dump trucks to bridge inspectors to those aiding in evacuation measures, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to carrying out work in advance of a storm. During and after storm activities are just as demanding and rigorous. Florida depends on FDOT to be on the front line with eyes on the entire transportation network and clear any obstacles for our partners to perform their essential duties, like the life safety mission and restoring utilities and power immediately after the storm. This means we're often the first boots on the ground that helps first responders reach those in need, supplies get back in stores, and all of the other important components of a community getting back to normal. The biggest driving force behind our ability to get this work done is the true passion our team members have for our communities. I truly believe there is no greater calling than serving communities when they need it most. This is truly an important mission, and the loyalty and commitment that goes into FDOT's response efforts is truly remarkable. Many team members must spend hours upon hours at the State Emergency Operations Center or the District Emergency Operations Centers. Some are sent out in advance of the storm and are strategically staged closer to the impact zone to be ready to spring into action as soon as the storm passes. Some team members may be deployed to assist from other parts of the state, where they will be stationed at base camps away from their homes and families for days, even weeks at a time. With many roles and responsibilities that go into preparing and responding to emergencies, we would like to offer firsthand perspective from the various team members that are involved in these emergency response efforts. Let's take a few minutes to hear from some of the team now.
Tell you what, it's a mixture of both anxiety and excitement, because our agency does a lot of great things when it comes to hurricane response, and it really gives us a chance to highlight all of our equipment and our people and our ability to plan and execute. So that's the excitement part. The anxiety part is we never want to see devastation hit Florida. And hurricanes certainly brings that to Florida, depending on the size of the storm.
We are engaged in hurricanes all year long, from the planning and designing of our projects to ensure that we can have an operational ESU, emergency shoulder use, during evacuations. Our evacuation routes are clear and be open for use. What's the condition of our equipment? Do we have a lot of downed equipment? What's our vacancy rates in our work units to make sure that if I need to retool and move some people around the district, to be ready and be incorporated in that. And then our Everbridge system, how do we get our notifications out? So there's a lot of checkpoints going on, but that happens throughout the entire year.
So I serve as the district maintenance engineer. I head up the emergency management team to ensure that the district staff is ready to respond and they understand the roles that they play in response to the storm. I make sure that they have their resources available. Pretty much we start in January and I begin to go through the checklist of making sure we have everybody's personal contact information, that there is updates to all of our emergency plans. We secure our emergency contracts pre-season so that they're ready to activate with us when the storm hits.
I think about how many named storms we would have, what kind of impact we would have. Think about the previously impacted areas and areas within the state of Florida who have not been hit, and whether or not they're prepared. I think about those things a lot.
Communicating with our district leadership, communicating with our leadership here in central office to make sure we have the right plans. So as we see the storm approaching the state, those discussions have to be had about what resources are available in that district, what other districts have to be deployed that are neighboring, and then what districts have to be kind of in the wings of ready to fold in as we get fatigued out, right? So everybody's willing to help. They want to help. They're inching to help. But until we get a full impact assessment, we don't know where we need to put the resources. So one thing we are very good at is districts wanting to help other districts, and to make sure our pre-positioning efforts, whether it's either equipment or people, are there to serve our communities as quickly as we can.
We send out reminders to our staff to first and foremost secure their homes, brace their families for the storm that's approaching. We confirm their contact information, get an understanding of what their personal plan is for safety to hunker down.
That's when it gets really exciting. There's things that we got to check. Make sure we got plenty of adequate fuel. I want to make sure that my damage assessment teams are ready. I want to make sure our cut and toss crews are ready. They're pre-positioned, ready to go at a moment's notice. So we are first responders. I mean, unless you can fly or float, you got to follow us to the impacted area.
We are looking at our equipment readiness, our staff readiness, and just being prepared to move throughout the state if we're called upon.
So the state EOC is kind of behind the scenes. What you normally see when it comes to storm response is our folks helping the communities. The role in the state EOC is to help coordinate between the different ESFs, right, the different agency leads, to making sure the resources are in place so that we can work collaboratively to help our communities.
We're reviewing the folks that would be going with us if we had to deploy throughout the state and their status. Deploying a lot of times can be stressful. We're developing communications with the impacted area if we are the district that's getting deployed to another area, to discuss routes and the logistics and to identify any potential hazards within the defined route that we've decided to travel.
So when I'm activated, I would be here in the District 1 Emergency Operations Center facility. I would see these stations all filled with staff working in their designated roles. We have staff here that work overnight, before landfall, during the storm, and after landfall. This place pretty much operates like a machine with a lot of professionals juggling many demands.
I've had numerous assignments at various hurricanes, various response teams. I'm always one willing to volunteer. So in the case of Hurricane Ian, we were responsible for the reconnection of Pine Island back to the mainland. So I was boots on the ground. I had over 100 dump trucks. I had over 100 dump trucks working to make that reconnection, and we did that in less than 3 days.
It's helping our communities. That is the most rewarding thing that we can ask for. It's what we do every day with transportation solutions. It's getting people where they need to be. And so pre-storm, that's evacuating effectively the communities that are going to be impacted. It's very important that we're part of the solution because we play an integral role as a first responder of getting utilities back up and running. We play an integral role of getting people back to their property. And so one of the ideas that we carried forward on Pine Island was to deliver a truck full of coolers and ice. And so refrigeration is something that most people don't think about. And you can get generators. A lot of homeowners have generators, but not everybody does, right? So how can we how can we help those communities? And ice and coolers are certainly one way we could do that. That's why it's satisfying, because we'd actually help. We can be frontline help to individual homes, individual people, individual communities, and even statewide.
When I see people that have lost homes, people have lost their vehicle, people have damage to their place of employment. I've seen people standing on foundations where there was once a home, and they're there with nowhere to go, and it's just heartbreaking.
For me, it's the selflessness. You really get to see the heart of state agencies when disasters happen. Just looking at the fact that it's bigger than us, we get to know that. Within FDOT, there's this one concept, and you really get to see that when we deploy to other locations throughout the state. The folks they're selfless. They leave their families not knowing what they're going to go into in terms of environmental conditions, and we work beyond the standard work hours and things of that nature.
We're the first step to get communities restored. We clear the travelway, restore roadways and bridges so that families can reunite and kids get back to school. Families can begin to repair and restore their homes, and businesses can restore. During the recent storms of Ian, Nicole, and Idalia, we were in the EOC monitoring repairs in real time to the island of Sanibel and Pine Island, Matlacha. The day access was restored, they drove over the bridge to bring the convoy of power restoration teams, food and water to the island. That was a moment of great pride and emotion that we collectively made that happen.
Hurricane response is nothing but long hours, and they're different for all levels of response, different efforts that we all play, or different roles we all play. From our blue shirts or white shirts in the field, it could be up on a piece of equipment or behind a chainsaw. That's very fatiguing on the body and the mind. It could be all the way up to senior leadership, sitting in rooms for long hours all night, talking with other agencies, and then state leadership of how do we execute, how do we respond quicker. Having that next plan ready is always in my thought process, or the next 2 or 3 steps to that plan, to make sure fatigue doesn't put us in a dangerous situation, an unsafe situation, and we can continue to provide resources and solutions in the upcoming days, weeks, and even months.
The hours are long. For an extended period of time, we are away from our families, who are also suffering from the emotional stress and trying to recover from that devastation that they see around them.
Going into areas that you're unfamiliar with, you're unaware of the surroundings, the conditions. It's very intense, long hours, sometimes 17, 18-hour days. And just making sure that, our folks are mentally prepared and they understand what the mission is.
You live off of adrenaline. Your appetite goes away. You're working very, very long hours in very rough conditions. And whether we're in a base camp or having to commute back into, it's always lots and lots of hours. After you've been living off that adrenaline, it just keeps you pumping, keeps you excited, keeps you moving. And then when that goes away, the exhaustion sets in, and then, reality hits of what all you just saw. And how many people, I've got a warm bed. They don't even have a home. They don't even have a foundation, if even that left. So it causes you to question a lot of things about yourself.
It's working through the challenges as an agency, as a district, as a work unit, and always finding solutions. It's very prideful to be around a group of professionals that we have to find solutions, and knowing that you have a whole team behind you, next to you, in front of you, to help work through those solutions. So, if anything, I've been with DOT or working for DOT over 25 years. So it's something that has fed my family, that has supported me when I needed support, and extremely grateful to be part of this agency.
the most rewarding thing for me is to go into some of these impacted areas and the gratitude that's expressed by those citizens who have been impacted, keeping in mind that some of those same citizens are also FDOT employees, and the oneness of family is really identified in that situation. So we kind of focus on that, and we really emphasize it through the communities and being resilient and being able to just recover and put people before ourselves.
I love being a public servant. I love working with others of like-minded cause. When there's a time of need, I've got so many resources at my disposal that I know I can make a difference when I get there. And my guys will tell you that when we are deployed, my boots are on the ground first. If it's safe for me to be there, they know it's safe for them to be there, and they come prepared to get the job done.
I came to FDOT seeking a career as an engineer, but I stayed because of the opportunity for professional and personal growth, and the work culture is fabulous. I've enjoyed being a public servant, but working in emergency management has given me a satisfaction knowing that I can serve our communities of Southwest Florida in their greatest time of need.
Before signing off, please remember that every single one of you are truly essential in times of emergency, and it's important that you have a plan and that you and your family are prepared and have a means to be safe so that we can get to work and support the people of Florida. Stay safe this season, and thank you.